Good afternoon. Thank you guys for being here. Um, Today, I wanted to share with you a very beginner-friendly intro to SWE. So hopefully everyone here today will walk away understanding what SWE is all about. I'm Harrison. I'm a developer advocate at SWE. I've been here for almost 2 years. I'm based in Korea. I'm half Korean, half Taiwanese. I do developer-facing events like hackathons, workshops, and mixers, usually across the APAC region. That's my Twitter QR code and my handle. So 10, 15 years ago, people would say, hey, you look like the guy from The Walking Dead, Glenn. I'm like, who's that? And then my wife and I started watching it. I'm like, okay, we'll kind of see the resemblance. So that's when I had more hair. And I started losing hair, and I stopped hearing that comment. Until he came up with a Beef Netflix series. So, hey, you look like the angry guy from Beef. But yeah, let's just hope Steven Yeun keeps losing hair. Or if SWE just keeps doing well, this is the CEO of Telegram, and I guess they can start reverse aging once they start earning more money. So, or like Elon Musk. So maybe I can also reverse age if SWE just keeps doing well. All right, so that's a little bit about me, and I wanted to get a sense of who's in this audience today. So if I can get you to scan this QR code, it's a Google form. It will only take about a minute or two to fill out. And then we're just going to do a lucky draw right away. So if you submit your email address at the bottom of the form, I'll do a lucky draw, and someone here will get 5 SWE. 5 SWE would be around 20 to 25 US dollars today. Doing a rough count, I think we have about 15 people in here. So let's say once we get to 10, I'll stop collecting responses. Okay. Maybe I'll just go on, and then at the end, we'll do the lucky draw so that you have time to fill out the form. Okay? All right, so let's just talk about the evolution of the internet. In the 90s, we had something like this. Let's see, why isn't it not working? All right. I'm sorry. Well, this YouTube video was supposed to work. It's not working right now, I think due to the slow internet speed. Let me just hotspot myself. Okay. So in the 90s, we had dial-up internet speed, which was basically 56 kilobits per second. It was the earliest form of internet access. It was very limited, so text-based. You couldn't send too much complicated data hoarding applications or games. But that was the beginning. And if today we bring a short-form video like YouTube Shorts or a TikTok video back to the 90s internet speed, it would take approximately, I made a table here, 6 minutes and 6 seconds to load a 10-second video back in the 90s. And then later, another 10 years passed, we had something called ADSL or broadband, and internet speed increased to 1.5 megabits per second. Of course, these are just averages. And that would have brought down a 10-second video loading time to 13 seconds, which is still a little bit long for our standards today. So our standard is closer to the last one, where the infrastructure we have is fiber optic cables, and the speed is roughly 0.48 seconds to load a 10-second video. So SUI's goal is really just to increase that speed, because Web3's internet speed is still operating almost at the 1990s dial-up internet speed. So we're trying to increase that speed to something faster than what we have today, because all the games that we have on Web3, for example, are still very slow and boring to deal with. It's usually still DeFi projects that are just sending numbers, are more popular products on Web3. So with SUI, once we increase the speed, that will open up doors for developers to build cooler applications that are more complex, more fun games that Web2 users like to play today. So if you don't remember anything from my talk today, I just want you to remember SUI is just trying to make Web3 internet speed faster and safer for everyone involved. And we try to do that with our layer 1 chain called SUI, and also our coding language, Move. And through that, we're trying to onboard the next billion users to Web3. So a quick thing about SUI. Traditional blockchains are very slow and a lot of security risks. And I want to use two analogies today. The first one is an immigration line. And let's just imagine there's only one immigration officer. Obviously, the line will be very long, and it'll take a very long time to process all of these travelers through the immigration booth. So how will we make the line get more people through the immigration quicker? Obviously, you would add more immigration officer lanes or booths. But we also observe at airports that there are different tracks for different types of people. Diplomats, nationals, foreigners, people with families or kids under 12. So you have some specialized passages. But let's imagine you have someone like Professor X, telekinetic, who just knows what your status is, and they will direct you to the specialized passages. So I denoted it with an immigration booth with an S. So you have people who are elderlies or mothers, flight crew, and people with disabilities. So automatically, Professor X is creating new lanes for you because you have nothing, you really don't need to wait for the other people on the other lanes. And that's kind of like how SUI architecture is like. It'll recognize that maybe you are doing a direct transaction, you are sending your friend some tokens, or another person is doing a smart contract, maybe writing a will on the blockchain, maybe someone else is just buying an NFT. These things, these transactions have nothing to do with each other. They're not dependent on each other. So they get their own lane, and they get to go through the lane right away. They don't need to wait in line. So theoretically, on the SUI network, you can create infinite number of lanes to get your transaction passed through quickly. But of course, if your transaction is dependent, for example, if a 6-year-old kid is trying to go through immigration, the immigration officer is like, oh, wait, where are your parents? I need to see them. So they will also be called to the immigration booth, and there will be more checks. And that's how most other blockchains work. So on other chains, you can imagine it's just one lane, one long line, whereas Sui, you have infinite lanes. And infinite lanes are only created when there are direct transfers. There are not any shared dependencies in that transaction. And 70%, I think something like 60 to 70% of all Web3 transactions are direct transactions. It doesn't have dependencies. This is another analogy that can help you understand. So imagine there's a house and there are 4 rooms. Let's just say there are A, B, C, D rooms. And let's just say you just come back home from a trip, and let's say your kid or your mom's like, okay, I gotta use the washroom. And she runs into the house, and the house goes into lockdown mode. Although she's just using only one bathroom or one room in the house, no one else can enter the house until she is done with her business. And she leaves that house, and only the next person can go in. And when that person goes in, although she or she's only using one of those rooms, all of the rooms are still in lockdown. So that's kind of how traditional blockchains work. So whichever analogy can help you understand better how Sui architecture works, I hope now you're able to explain it to your friends and family, why Sui is able to handle so many more transactions. So concurrently or in parallel, we can run transactions at the same time. We also have something called the Move programming language. Everything is an object-oriented programming. In other chains, I don't want to go into detail, but there's something called account-based programming, and we use object-based programming. So for developers who are in the audience today, that's our developer portal. And if you want more information, developer resources, you can come find me after the talk. Another thing I want to share about Move is that maybe 15 years ago, there was all this debate between front-end frameworks for like JavaScript, like which is better, React, Angular, or Vue.js? And 15 years ago, or 10 years ago, it was pretty much the same, React, Angular, and Vue.js. But now it's very clear React.js is the clear winner in terms of front-end frameworks. Why I'm showing you this, why React is so strong, is because it was developed at Facebook. And I want to ask, what else is developed at Facebook? And it's the Move programming language. When Move was first created at Facebook, when Facebook created the cryptocurrency called Libra, or DM project. But later, they had to shut that down, and the teams that were working on that project, they came out and started their own startups. And one is Aptos, and the other is Sui. So Sui, the founder of the Move programming language, Sam Blackshear, once he has started Sui, he co-founded Misten Labs, and once they started creating Sui Network, he improved Sui and changed Move from account-based programming to object-based programming, object-oriented. And his whole model, I think, can be boiled down to this sentence, which is not, even in the Web 2 world, not all developers are experts in security. Most developers just know how to build like their own silo or build their own products. So he wanted developers, even in Web 3, to spend less time worrying about security and spend more time building their products. So again, React, clear winner, and maybe 10 years from now, Move will be the clear Web 3 winner. And it doesn't matter if it's Aptos or Sui or other Move-based programming language, but I am very confident that Move will one day be the clear winner for Web 3 programming languages because it is more versatile and it prevents a lot of hacks that we see in Web 3. So all those like tens of millions of dollar hacks that you see, a lot of them come from account-based programming Web 3 chains. So Sui is the next-gen blockchain driving the internet revolution from Web 2 to Web 3. Or we also say it's the third-generation blockchain, a smart contract chain. So if the first generation smart contract, Ethereum, which was actually improving on Bitcoin, because Bitcoin couldn't do smart contracts. It was only sending numbers. Ethereum added smart contracts, but Solana recognized there were inefficiencies with Ethereum, so they built Solana. And then the founders of Sui came along and was like, oh, I think we can improve further on Ethereum and on Solana, so they came up with Sui. I don't know if you've seen news about our recent upgrade in the last couple of months. Mysticeti is our latest upgrade to our network. And basically, we're able to handle all transactions within a second. So when you submit a transaction, it only takes less than half a second to a second. So here's an example, and hopefully the internet is faster now. So this is an example on Jupiter, on Solana, and we're making a transaction. And we'll see how long that takes. Okay, this hasn't been sped up. Okay, so the transaction happened in 4 seconds. Now over to the Sui. This is another DeFi project called Kriya on Sui network. That was it. That was too fast. I'll just replay it for you. Approved transaction, less than a second. In 0.73 seconds, the transaction went through. So we're fast. But we also have very good frictionless experience for our users. For those of you who tried to create a wallet on another chain before, you might have seen something like this called seed phrase, where you have to memorize a long combination of words, or maybe a private key, like a long number, where they might say, don't share this with your friends or anyone, but you can share another thing with everyone. So it is very confusing for someone who's never done Web3 before to see all these error messages. So we have an army of cryptography engineers at Nissan Labs, and they came up with something called ZK login, or zero knowledge login. And it's basically sign in with Google. So there's a website called getstashed.com, or we just refer to stashed wallet. And this is what you'll see when you get to stashed.com. And you can see sign in with Google. So let's say you sign in with Google, and because I already have some money, Sui in my wallet, so you can see that I have 12.57 Sui. But that was it. Like you would create a wallet, a stashed wallet like that. You already have a Sui wallet just like that by signing in with Google. You don't need to memorize your seed phrase. And I can send one Sui. I can create a link. Or I can create a link and send it over WhatsApp or Line Messenger. I can send it to a Sui wallet address, which is the more familiar way in Web3. And within Stash, I can create a username. So my username on Stash is Batman. So if you think I did a good job giving this talk today, you can give me some tips by sending Batman at Stashed some Sui tokens. Well, or in this example, Tesla at Stashed. If I create a link, and if you scan this QR code, you would claim that one Sui. Obviously, this one is empty now, but later you might have a chance. Last year, if you were here in my talk, I had a QR code, and someone who was not supposed to claim it claimed the link. So this year, I'm being smart about how I'm handing out the money. Also, you can reclaim the stash. So let's say you try to send your mom or dad some Sui tokens, but they didn't claim it. You can always reclaim it. You can also go into the history and click on that button there and see on the Explorer your transaction on-chain. Okay, so that was the ZK login Sui native feature. But we have other native features like Kiosk, which is like a commerce tool on Sui. We have Deep Book, a central limit order book, basically increases your speed for DeFi. We have sponsored transactions, so first-time Sui users might not have any Sui in their wallet, so the person who's providing the service will pay for that gas fee. Gas fee is kind of like a small fee that you have to pay when you're sending a transaction. Now the application owner can pay for that upfront for you. And if you have a storage, if you're storing something on Sui and then later you're not storing it anymore, you get the rebate. We have more Sui native features. So we're very fast and we're also very cheap. So this is an example of minting 1 million NFTs. So $33 million for Ethereum, 253,000 on Solana, 32,000 on Polygon. Of course, these might not be the most accurate numbers, but this is just give you a sense, a benchmark. And it would cost 6.6K on Sui. And because we're so fast and so cheap, we have a lot of game developers trying to build on Sui now. And why is a lot of verticals are important to Sui, but gaming is one of those important ones because it's the gateway to onboarding a lot of users. Imagine any of these big games using Sui, then they can bring in a lot of users. And those users don't even need to know that they're interacting with Web3. They can just, again, sign in with Google. And for example, if Fortnite integrates ZK login, the users just sign in with Google, and whatever game items that they collect in the game will be saved in their wallets. But normal users don't need to know it's a Web3 wallet. So in one of those big games can onboard a lot of users using Sui without them even having to know that they're using a Web3 application. So how do you take Sui to the next level? So that's the Sui Play OX1. That's our, imagine Steam Deck or like a handheld device where you can play both Web 2 and Web 3 games. And if you're playing a Web 3 games, again, you log in with ZK Login and you collect the in-game items or avatars or all the track record that you collected. It will be safe. It will be in your Web 3 wallet. We also have very exciting, and this will be ready in H1 next year. So in the next 6 to 7 months, these will be available. So you can pre-order now, or you can come by to the Sui booth later and find the pre-order QR code. There were other 4 exciting partnership announcements during our Builder House at Token 2049. So on the very left is the DeLorean Labs. If you guys are familiar with Back to the Future, the car from the Back to the Future is called DeLorean. So the DeLorean Labs, we're working together on integrating with Sui with their DeLorean IP. One championship, or if you watch any MMA, it's kind of like UFC, but the other famous one is called One Championship. And they're also partnering with us in creating games. And of course, there's USDC. Now you can do native trade, cross transfer from USDC to Sui. So I'm just going to give you a sneak peek of the DeLorean Labs partnership. Because the video is long, I'm just going to skip a little bit. Okay. So that's what I'm really excited about. Very cool, because we all grew up with Back to the Future, hopefully, and that time capsule, there were about, I think, 8,000 NFTs, or 8,888 NFTs, and I think the last round has already been done, and one of those 8,000 NFTs, lucky winner, will get an actual DeLorean EV car. So hopefully some of you guys have it. Right. Okay, so one championship, and this one I'm also very excited about. Yeah, so Phantom and Sui. Sui is coming to Phantom, and you'll be able to interact with Sui a lot. Well, Phantom has a lot of users, so we're very excited to work with Phantom. So if you don't remember anything that I said today, again, the summary is we want to onboard 1 billion users, and that would require onboarding the Web 2 users, and that probably means a lot of them will never need to know about Web 3. And through this combination of both our architecture, our Sui blockchain, and the Move coding language, we'll provide a faster Web3 internet speed and a safer environment, not just for regular users, but also developers and our vendors or partners that are building on Sui. And of course, we do that by making it easy for everyone, users and developers, to build on Sui, to interact with Sui products. I have 3 minutes left, I think. So very quickly, these are the fathers of internet, Tim Berners-Lee and Vint Cerf. And in 2016, at the Decentralized Web Summit, they were very unhappy about where the internet was heading. There were too many big, large conglomerates building their own walled gardens or silos, making it hard to achieve the internet world that Vint Cerf and Tim Berners-Lee, or the fathers of internet, what they intended the internet to be. So they called for a new decentralized web, and that's when our engineers at Misten Labs stepped up and created something called Walrus. It's the storage layer protocol. And what's wrong with other storage layer protocols today is you don't really own the assets itself, but you only own the link to the asset. And if that asset sometimes you'll just go to the link, but then the asset is no longer there. So you don't really own the asset. And also what's wrong with storing a lot of data on the blockchain is it kind of feels like this. Basically, you need consensus across all the nodes to keep the whatever file you're storing, right? All the nodes need to be in agreement that, okay, that file is correct. But in these are the resources that you can read more about Walrus later. But basically, how most storage layers work in the world today is you just copy-paste the same file again and again and again across different servers around the world. And that will take up a lot of space, a lot of repetition of codes. So there's something called erasure codes to improve storage efficiency. These are for the tech geeks in the audience. I have no idea what this is. But basically, imagine you're taking a file and then you're creating a very summarized version of it, And all you need is that, and you can work backwards and recreate the original image. So that's the technology that a lot of cloud storage are moving towards today. And that's also basically the basis of technology that Walrus is using. So there's a lot lower storage overhead, and it's easy to recover the file that you might have lost. But yes, so this is an exciting storage layer that will work hand in hand with Sui. Because of the interest of time, I'm just going to wrap it up here. And I just want to say we have a hackathon coming up in the first 2 quarters of next year, and this was this year. We have people joining us from a wide variety of countries today.
We learned the unique features of Swift, like CK login and programmer transaction load.
There's this great collaborative spirit, and so many examples of builders helping each other.
So yeah, I invite you to start. This is from this year. So next year, when we have our next global hackathon, I invite all of you guys to get ready now. Maybe start getting familiar with the Sui native features, and yeah, we hope that you build something on Sui. And tomorrow, Janet, our Sui director, Mission Lab director of product, she will be speaking on the blueprint for Sui's blueprint for Web3 in warehouse number 1 onboard arena. Thank you guys. Thank you to the next speaker for letting me run a little bit late. And I hope you learned something today. And I promise that the ones who scanned the QR code earlier would get Sui. So because we don't have that many people, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, these 10 people come find me after, and I'll give you 5 Sui right away. Okay? Congratulations. Thank you. And see you next year.